Welcome back to From the Pages, where we open the vault, dust off the gloss, and relive the pulse of professional wrestling's greatest era, word for word, headline for headline. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Tell us what you remember most from this period, because this issue, WWF Magazine, April to May 1987, captures the exact moment the world stopped to witness Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. This was the build-up to WrestleMania 3, the collision that changed everything. A magazine thick with tension, hype, and the last flicker of Roddy Piper's farewell flame. We open with Around the Ring, where readers get their say, and the editors answer with that corporate charm only Titan Sports could muster. Letters pour in from all corners of the country, praising Steamboat's courage, condemning Danny Davis's corruption, and debating the virtues of the honky-tonk man. Fans from New York to Oklahoma argue about who really runs the WWF, Hulk Hogan or Bobby the Brain Heenan. It's clear from the tone that wrestling's audience has never been louder or more passionate. Then comes WWF Lowdown, snooping behind the scenes, a grab bag of quick updates and locker room tidbits. Jimmy Hart is scouting new musical acts. The Killer Bees are promising to sting their way to the top of the tag ranks. And Tito Santana has vowed revenge on Danny Davis for robbing him and the Bulldogs of the tag titles. Even referees get a spotlight, as the Davis scandal has made officiating the biggest storyline in the sport. The column oozes with that familiar mix of kayfabe and gossip, where reality and storyline dance together in a haze of red, white, and blue ropes. Then the feature that defines the era. Battle of the Titans. Savage versus Steamboat. Every word drips with intensity. This is the feud that redefined wrestling psychology and set the standard for in-ring storytelling. The article recounts the horrifying moment when Macho Man Randy Savage crushed Ricky Steamboat's larynx with the timekeeper's bell, an act so brutal it silenced entire arenas. Photographs show Steamboat gasping for air, Elizabeth screaming, and Savage basking in the chaos. The piece builds to Steamboat's return, training like a man possessed, his voice weak but his spirit unbroken. "He hurt my throat," Steamboat says, "but he didn't hurt my heart. It's pure Shakespeare," in spandex, and the Noble Dragon versus the Mad King. Next up, WWF interview, where Danny Davis answers some questions. The disgraced referee turned wrestler sits in the hot seat, smirking through every accusation. Davis defends his actions, claiming he was misunderstood and underappreciated, while Heenan's influence looms over every line. "I made history," Davis boasts. "How many referees can say they won a match?" The interviewer presses about the Bulldogs, Santana, and the fine line between fair and foul. Davis shrugs it off, insisting, "I didn't cheat. I just officiated like a winner." The arrogance is intoxicating, and the WWF Magazine layout frames him like a supervillain with a whistle. Then we turn the page to the moment that defined the year. Hulk versus Andre. The champ faces giant odds. The copy reads like an epic prophecy. For 3 years, Hulk Hogan stood as the immovable icon, the people's champion, the red and yellow symbol of American heroism. Andre the Giant, once his closest ally, now looms as the challenger. The betrayal cuts deep. The memory of Andre standing beside Bobby Heenan, tearing Hogan's shirt and cross from his chest, is burned into every fan's mind. The magazine details the physical differences, the years of friendship, and the shocking turn that shook the wrestling world. For the first time, it says, Hulk Hogan may be facing a man he cannot slam, a man he cannot overcome. The tension builds line by line. 2 Titans, 1 Destiny, 1 ring. That segues into Andre the Giant. In retrospect, a tribute to the 8th wonder of the world, chronicling his early days in France, his rise through the territories, and his evolution into wrestling's most beloved figure. The tone is reverent, almost melancholy, recounting his battles with Big John Studd, Ken Patera, and King Kong Bundy. For years, Andre stood above the sport, it says. But even giants have breaking points. The piece paints him as a lonely legend, adored envied, and now betrayed by his own myth. Following that, we get Tale of the Tape, how Andre and Hulk compare physically. It's the kind of spread that kids memorized like scripture. Hogan, 6 feet 7 inches, 303 pounds, biceps at 24 inches, chest 58, waist 34. Andre, 7 feet 4 inches, 520 pounds, hands 15 inches wide, boot size 24, chest 71. The comparison is absurd. Visual proof of the impossible scale of the showdown. Then comes the pros. Rate Hulk and Andre. Expert predictions. Veterans from every corner of the WWF weigh in. Bobby Heenan predicts total domination, saying, Andre could beat Hogan in 3 minutes. Gorilla Monsoon picks Hogan, citing the champion's heart and balance. Bruno Sammartino leans toward Hogan, calling him the most determined man alive. Jesse Ventura, ever the contrarian, sides with the giant. Size always wins, McMahon. The tone is almost sports journalistic, serious, speculative, yet electric. After pages of analysis, the story pivots to fallout. Hart Foundation takes title. The Bulldogs lose in controversy. The magazine explains how Jimmy Hart's men stole the WWF Tag Team titles thanks to referee Danny Davis's questionable officiating. The British Bulldogs, beloved by fans, are shown in disbelief, Davey Boy Smith holding Dynamite Kid back from attacking Davis. Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart grin like thieves who got away clean. The photos tell the story: shock, rage, betrayal, and celebration, all in one frame. Next comes Piper will retire, Roddy to quit after Adonis bouts. The article is elegiac, chronicling the Hot Rod's career from his early days in the Mid-Atlantic territories to his war with Hulk Hogan and his infamous Piper's Pit. I started more fights than I finished, Piper admits, but I never ran from one. The feature sets up his hair versus hair match against adorable Adrian Adonis, marking Piper's exit from the ring to focus on Hollywood. You can't cage lightning, the article concludes, but you can remember where it struck. Then in the aftermath of the Mania build, we hit Heenan sneers. Hulkamania is dead. The Brain unloads his trademark venom, calling Hogan a fraud with muscles and declaring that Andre will end the myth, the mania, and the mistake. It's a pure Heenan masterpiece, half comedy, half prophecy, delivered with that blend of intellect and cruelty only he possessed. We then move to a rare spotlight, Fuji, a deep profile on Mr. Fuji, the master of deception. It details his long history of psychological warfare, from blinding opponents with salt to manipulating referees. Wrestling, Fuji says, is about patience. I wait, I smile, I strike. The piece reminds readers that even in an era dominated by muscle, cunning still won matches. The heat continues with Harts and Davis versus Bulldogs and Santana, 6-man tag. The narrative is pure chaos, revenge, payback, and retribution all colliding in one brawl. Tito Santana promises to teach Davis what it feels like to be outclassed. The Bulldogs vow to end the Hart Foundation's run. The article describes the bout as a war of emotion more than athletics, culminating in a finish too controversial to settle anything. The issue begins to wind down with WWF wrap-up. Goings-on in the WWF, a snapshot of the roster in motion. Honky Tonk Man continues to antagonize Jake the Snake Roberts. Hercules Hernandez is demanding title shots. The Killer Bees and Demolition are on a collision course. The magazine's back pages double as a living time capsule of the road to WrestleMania 3. Every feud, every side story feeding into the largest event in wrestling history. And then comes best and worst, best finishers. A fan-favorite column ranking the most devastating signature moves. Hogan's leg drop takes top honors for impact and showmanship. The Macho Man's flying elbow ranks second, a masterpiece of height and precision. Jake Roberts' DDT rounds out the list. Simple, sudden, final. Others mentioned include the Bulldogs running power slam, Piper's sleeper, and Steamboat's flying body press. It's the 80s equivalent of a highlight reel in print. Finally, we close with wrestler's rebuttal. Wrestlers speak their minds, where stars respond to critics and rumors. One defends his reputation, another calls out hypocrisy, and yet another dismisses tabloid gossip about backstage politics. The closing line belongs to Hogan himself. They can all say what they want, brother, but the truth is in the ring. As the magazine ends, it feels less like an issue and more like a monument. This was the peak of the golden era, when every storyline, every rivalry, every photo and word built toward a moment in time. Pontiac Silverdome, 93,000 strong, Hulk versus Andre, Savage versus Steamboat, Piper's farewell. It was the turning point where wrestling became myth, and this magazine captured it in glossy permanence. This has been From the Pages, WWF Magazine, April-May 1987. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Tell us your favorite feud, your favorite match, or the moment that made you a believer. This is From the Pages, and where wrestling history lives again.